When she starts treating you differently after you pull back, the worst thing you can do is rush to explain, chase, or demand clarity. Most men feel that shift and instantly try to close the gap. They send longer messages, ask more questions, or start acting extra available, hoping to restore what changed. But that reaction does the opposite of what they want. It tells her that the moment her behavior shifted, your emotional balance collapsed. And once that happens, respect quietly fades. The real power in this moment comes from doing something most people can't do, staying calm and simply observing. Pulling back already created a pause in the dynamic. Her change in behavior is information, not a problem that needs fixing. When you immediately react, you interrupt the natural emotional process that was just triggered. Instead of letting her feel the space and reflect on it, you rush in to remove the discomfort. That teaches her that you will always regulate the relationship for her, even at the cost of your own self-respect. But when you stay composed and don't chase the change, something very different happens. She becomes the one sitting with uncertainty, wondering why you didn't react the way she expected. Calm observation is not passive. It's controlled. You're paying attention to patterns, not words. Is she pulling back consistently, or only when she senses distance? Is she reaching out again once she feels the space? Is her energy testing, or is it genuinely fading? When you're not emotionally flooded, you can see clearly, and clarity is leverage. Men lose power when they act on impulse. They gain it when they respond from awareness. Staying calm also communicates emotional strength without you ever having to say it. You're not sending signals of resentment, insecurity, or confusion. You're not trying to win anything. You're simply present, steady, and unbothered. That energy is rare and it's deeply felt. It forces her to confront her own behavior because there's no emotional noise to hide behind. Silence and stillness become a mirror, and people often don't like what they see when they're forced to look at themselves. This is where many men misunderstand the situation. They think pulling back is about manipulating her reaction. It's not. Pulling back is about protecting your center. When her treatment changes and you don't panic, you're showing that your sense of worth doesn't rise and fall based on her mood. That alone shifts the dynamic. Suddenly, you're not trying to be chosen. You're choosing whether the connection still aligns with your standards. As you observe, you're also giving her room to reveal the truth. If her interest is real, the space will bring her forward. If it isn't, the distance will expose that too. Either way, you win, because you're no longer stuck guessing or over investing. You're allowing behavior to speak louder than promises or mixed signals. And here's the quiet part most people miss. When you don't chase the change, you don't reward it. You're not validating inconsistency with extra effort. You're not negotiating attraction. You're holding your ground without aggression or drama. That kind of restraint often rebuilds respect faster than any conversation ever could. So when her energy shifts after you pull back, don't scramble to restore comfort. Stay calm. Watch. Let time and space do what pressure never can, because the man who can remain steady when things feel uncertain is the man who always keeps his power in the end. When her behavior changes after you pull back, one of the most important things you can do is resist the urge to adjust your energy in response to hers. This is where most men unknowingly lose ground. They either try to compensate by giving more attention, more reassurance, more availability, or they swing to the opposite extreme and become cold, distant, or sarcastic. Both reactions communicate the same thing, that her behavior controls your emotional state. Real strength shows up when your energy remains steady, regardless of what she does. Maintaining the same energy doesn't mean pretending nothing changed. It means you don't let the shift throw you off your center. Your tone stays calm. Your pace stays grounded. You don't suddenly reply faster, write longer messages, or go out of your way to prove something. At the same time, you don't punish her with silence or passive aggression. You show up the same way you always have, respectful, composed, and emotionally self-contained. That consistency sends a powerful message without a single confrontation. People subconsciously test boundaries when dynamics shift. When she treats you differently, she's often watching how you'll respond. Will you bend? Will you chase? Will you react emotionally? If your energy changes, she learns that small shifts on her end can pull big reactions from you. That reduces respect, even if she doesn't consciously realize it. But when your energy stays the same, the test fails. There's nothing for her to pull on. And that's when curiosity replaces control. Consistency also creates emotional safety. Ironically, when you don't react, you become more predictable in the best way. She doesn't have to manage your emotions or worry about saying the wrong thing. You're not volatile, you're not needy, you're solid. That steadiness often makes her reflect on why she changed in the first place, because the contrast becomes obvious. She feels her inconsistency more clearly when you refuse to mirror it. Another reason maintaining the same energy is so effective is because it prevents escalation. Many situations fall apart not because of the initial change, but because of the reactions that follow. One message turns into an argument turns into distance, and distance turns into resentment. By staying steady, you stop that chain reaction before it begins. You're not trying to fix the situation in the moment. You're allowing it to unfold naturally without emotional interference. This approach also protects your self-respect. When you don't overextend or withdraw dramatically, you avoid doing things you later regret. You're not apologizing for things you didn't do. You're not explaining yourself unnecessarily. You're not acting out of fear of loss. Instead, you're acting from a place of choice. You're showing that your presence is consistent, but not unconditional to disrespect or confusion. Over time, this forces clarity. Either she adjusts and meets you at that same level of energy, or she doesn't. If she comes back warmer and more engaged, you haven't compromised yourself to get there. If she stays distant, you haven't invested more into something that's already fading. In both outcomes, you remain grounded and in control of your own behavior. So when her treatment shifts, don't chase it and don't fight it. Hold your line. Keep your energy the same, because the man who stays consistent when others become inconsistent is the man who naturally commands respect without ever demanding it. When you pull back and she starts treating you differently, the silence that follows can feel uncomfortable, even unsettling. Most people rush to fill that space because silence feels like loss of control. They think if they don't say something, they'll lose their chance, lose the connection, or lose her entirely. But silence, when used with intention, is not weakness. It's clarity. It allows emotions to surface without being managed, distracted, or suppressed. When you stop filling the space, you remove the emotional cushion she may have grown used to. You're no longer there to reassure, explain, or smooth things over. That absence creates a contrast. She feels the difference between having your consistent presence and not having it. And that difference speaks louder than any message ever could. Silence makes the absence of your energy real, not theoretical. This is where emotional work begins on her side. Without you guiding the interaction, she has time to think. She starts replaying conversations, noticing shifts, questioning her own behavior. Curiosity replaces certainty. Doubt replaces comfort. And those emotions often pull a person back toward what they feel slipping away. Not because they were pressured, but because they were given space to feel. Silence also protects you from saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. When emotions are high, words tend to come from fear, not strength. You over-explain, you justify, you accidentally reveal insecurity you didn't even know was there. By choosing silence, you avoid weakening your position. You allow your actions, pulling back, staying composed, remaining focused, to do the talking for you. There's a difference between silence and avoidance. Avoidance comes from fear. Intentional silence comes from self-control. You're not ignoring her to punish her. You're not disappearing to provoke anxiety. You're simply refusing to chase or force a dynamic that needs space to reveal its truth. That distinction matters, even if it's never spoken aloud. In many cases, silence becomes the mirror she can't escape. When there's no immediate response, no emotional reaction, she has to sit with her own energy. If she's genuinely interested, the silence feels loud. It pushes her to reach out, to clarify, to reconnect. If she isn't, the silence confirms what words never could. Either way, you gain information without sacrificing your dignity. Silence also recenters you. Instead of monitoring her behavior or waiting for her next move, you return your attention to your own life. Your routine your purpose, your growth. The less you hover emotionally, the more grounded you become. And that grounded state is attractive, not because it's strategic, but because it's authentic. What makes silence so powerful is that it cannot be argued with. Words can be debated, misinterpreted, or dismissed. Silence simply exists. It creates space for reality to rise to the surface. And in that space, people reveal who they are and what they truly want. So when you pull back and things go quiet, don't rush to break it. Let the silence do the emotional work you can't do for her, because the man who is comfortable in silence is the man who never has to beg to be felt or understood. The moment you pull back and notice her behavior shift, there's a critical decision to make that determines whether you keep your balance or lose it. You either stay emotionally tied to her reactions or you deliberately redirect your energy back into your own life. Most men say they're focused on their purpose, but the truth is revealed in moments like this. If your mood, productivity, and self-worth start rising and falling based on how she treats you, then she has control you never intended to give. Reclaiming that control starts with an immediate shift of focus. This isn't about pretending she doesn't matter. It's about remembering that your life existed before her and continues with or without her. When you redirect your energy into your work, your routines, your health, and your growth, you stop orbiting her emotional state. You wake up with structure again. You move with intention again. And that inner stability changes everything about how you show up, even in silence. Purpose grounds you in reality. Instead of replaying conversations or analyzing her tone, your mind has somewhere productive to go. You're building something, improving something, moving forward. That forward motion creates momentum, and momentum kills desperation. You're no longer waiting to be chosen or validated. You're engaged in your own progress, and that naturally shifts your emotional posture. There's also something deeply attractive about a man whose life continues to expand when a relationship becomes uncertain. Not because he's trying to impress anyone, but because his identity isn't dependent on external approval. When she senses that you didn't collapse, didn't chase, and didn't pause your life to monitor her behavior, the dynamic subtly flips. The space you created now feels real because it's filled with purpose, not emptiness. Redirecting your focus also removes the pressure from the connection. When you stop making her the center of your emotional world, interactions become lighter and more natural. You're not fishing for reassurance. You're not overthinking responses. You're present when you engage and complete when you don't. That emotional independence often brings out more respect than any grand gesture ever could. This shift is also about self-trust. By choosing your purpose over emotional chaos, you're telling yourself that you can handle uncertainty without losing direction. That builds confidence internally, not just externally. You start to feel solid again, not because the situation changed, but because you did. And here's the part most people don't expect. When you genuinely refocus on your life, you loosen your grip on the outcome. Whether she comes closer or drifts further away, stops feeling like a verdict on your worth. It becomes information, not identity. That detachment is what allows you to respond wisely later instead of reacting emotionally now. So when her energy shifts after you pull back, don't sit still waiting for clarity from her. Create clarity through action. Move forward. Build. Improve. Stay engaged with your purpose. Because the man who keeps progressing when things feel uncertain is the man who never loses himself in the process. When she reaches out after you pull back, the way you respond matters more than the fact that she reached out at all. This is where many men get confused and undo their own progress. Any contact feels like hope, so they rush to engage fully, even when her effort is unclear, inconsistent, or minimal. A short message, a vague check-in, or a sudden emotional dump can pull you right back into a dynamic where you're giving more than you're receiving. But real power comes from responding to clarity, not confusion. Not all outreach is the same. There's a difference between genuine effort and emotional probing. Genuine effort feels grounded. It's direct, warm, and respectful of your presence. Confusion feels scattered. It's hot and cold, emotionally vague, or designed to see if you're still available without fully stepping forward. When you respond equally to both, you teach her that she doesn't need to be clear or consistent to access you. that slowly erodes respect. Responding only to effort doesn't mean ignoring her or acting superior. It means you stay neutral when the energy is unclear. You don't punish, interrogate, or overinvest. You reply calmly, briefly, and without emotional attachment. You don't rush to fix her mood or decode her message. You allow her to meet you where you are instead of chasing where she might be. This approach creates a natural filter. If her interest is genuine, she'll step up. She'll communicate more clearly, engage more directly, and match your energy. If she's only reaching out for validation, reassurance, or control, the lack of emotional reward will cause that behavior to fade. Either outcome protects you because you're no longer feeding uncertainty with attention. There's also a deeper layer here that's easy to miss. By responding only to effort, you reinforce your own standards. You're showing yourself that access to you requires intention, not convenience. That internal boundary is just as important as the external one. When you respect your own time and energy, it becomes easier for others to do the same. This also keeps the dynamic clean. There's no emotional bargaining, no guessing games, no mixed signals on your side. You're not saying one thing while hoping for another. You're aligned. And alignment creates calm. Instead of feeling anxious after every interaction, you feel centered because you're acting in accordance with your values, not your fears. Over time, this consistency teaches people how to treat you. You're not demanding respect, you're demonstrating it through behavior. You're available, but not desperate. Open, but not overextended. Present, but not chasing. That balance is rare, and it changes how people approach you. So when she reaches out after you pull back, don't ask what it means. Ask what it shows. Match effort with effort. Meet clarity with openness. Stay neutral with confusion. Because the man who responds from standards instead of hope is the man who never loses himself trying to keep someone else close. At the deepest level, everything comes down to one quiet decision that most people avoid making: being willing to lose her rather than lose yourself. When her behavior changes after you pull back, there's a moment where fear tries to take over. Fear of being replaced, forgotten, or left behind. That fear is what pushes men to over-explain, overgive, and tolerate treatment that slowly chips away at their self-respect. But the moment you become willing to walk forward without resentment or drama, the entire dynamic shifts. This willingness is not an ultimatum, and it's not a threat. It's an internal line you draw for yourself. You're not trying to prove anything to her. You're simply deciding that your peace, dignity, and emotional stability matter more than holding onto a connection that no longer feels aligned. That decision alone changes how you carry yourself. Your words soften, your reactions slow. Your presence becomes calm instead of anxious. When you're willing to lose her, you stop negotiating attraction. You stop trying to convince her of your value. You stop bending your boundaries to keep access. And paradoxically, that's often when respect returns. Not because you demanded it, but because you no longer needed it to validate yourself. People feel that shift immediately, even if they can't explain it. Walking away peacefully is a form of strength that doesn't announce itself. There's no anger, no speeches, no closure seeking conversations. Just a quiet alignment with your own standards. You're still kind, still grounded, still open, but no longer available for confusion, inconsistency, or emotional games. That kind of composure leaves a lasting impression. This is also where many men finally regain control over their emotional world. When you accept the possibility of loss, you stop fearing it. And when fear dissolves, clarity appears. You see the situation as it is, not as you hoped it would be. You realize that the right connection won't require you to shrink, chase, or abandon yourself. And that realization is freeing. If she steps forward after sensing this shift, it's different. It's not based on control or uncertainty. It's based on renewed respect. And if she doesn't, you're still okay. Not numb, not bitter. Just steady. You move on without carrying resentment because you didn't betray yourself to keep her. This mindset also prepares you for healthier connections in the future. When you know you can walk away with dignity, you stop clinging, you choose more wisely, you invest more slowly, you recognize early signs of misalignment without panic, and that changes everything. So if her treatment continues to change after you pull back, don't try to force an outcome. Choose yourself calmly. Be willing to lose the connection to keep yourself respect, because the man who can walk away peacefully is the man who never truly loses in the end.